Good morning. Welcome to the Long Live the First Amendment and Free Speech podcast. Free Press Media Press, Inc. organizes this podcast. I'm Andrew Bouchard. I have read the case Jamison versus Texas from casetext.com, and I have comments I intend to enlighten and stimulate you with. For the third time while reviewing and reading First Amendment cases, I come across Jehovah's Witnesses. A pattern is emerging. Jehovah's Witnesses are fighting for the First Amendment. There's a lot of debate about whether Christians are persecuted in America. Some people say, yes, we are. Other people say, no way. I tend to side with the people who say they are not persecuted. After all, we have freedom of religion that is affirmed all the time. You don't have to go very far to see it being affirmed. Of course, it's never perfect, so there may be cases where, very few cases where certain sects are. I wouldn't say the mainstream Christian sects are, but it looks like Jehovah's Witnesses often are the victim of efforts to stop them, and we might even define that as persecution. So I applaud the Jehovah's Witnesses for fighting for their rights, which in turn protect the rights of us all. In this particular case, the defendant, Jamison, got charged for distributing leaflets on the street, but that alone wasn't the issue. The city argued that because the leaflets advertised other books they could get if they mailed in 25%, they were engaging in commercial enterprises. I don't like that. I don't like them targeting the Jehovah's Witnesses or anybody for that. As the court said, quote, the mere presence of an advertisement of a religious work on a handbill of the sort distributed here may not subject the distribution of the handbill to prohibition, end quote. I agree with that. Looks like they're going too far. It looks like they're taking it to too far of a level. They should go with the spirit of the law rather than the letter of law, if anything. The court also stated, quote, the states can prohibit the use of the streets for the distribution of purely commercial leaflets, even though such leaflets may have a civic appeal or a moral platitude appended. Valentine versus Christensen. They may not prohibit the distribution of handbills in the pursuit of a clearly religious activity merely because the handbills invite the purchase of books for the improved understanding of the religion or because the handbills seek in a lawful fashion to promote the raising of funds for religious purposes, end quote. This is a great nuance I love that they considered. It's something I wouldn't have thought about before. The decision also noted that the Jehovah's Witnesses were losing money with this endeavor since the books cost 25 cents, cost less than 25 cents. I'm sorry, cost more than 25 cents. And this was a long time ago, but still. So I like that this court overruled this law and freed the defendant, giving the Jehovah's Witnesses the opportunity to advance their beliefs. The United States is founded upon the notion of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Jehovah's Witness religion doesn't make me happy, so I don't pursue it. But it makes them happy, so they have every right to pursue it. Thus, I support any decision that affirms the Jehovah's Witnesses' right to pursue their version of happiness, regardless of the restrictions people try to impose. Oftentimes, I've seen it personally where people use these laws to stop activities. They try to find some little pin to stab them with, metaphorically, just to stop it. They look for anything they can grab. I've heard people say, I support freedom of speech, but, and then they go on to list why they don't support freedom of speech, and it doesn't apply to you, just because it's probably inconvenient for them to go out and have to deal with you, or just because they don't like your point of view. But no, freedom of speech should stand as an eternal principle for Jehovah's Witnesses and for the rest of us. How will you advance freedom of speech, the First Amendment, and third parties today? Long live the First Amendment and free speech. Goodbye.